I never thought my sister would betray me, but standing in front of Jefferson High School's security desk, watching the guard check his restricted access list for the third time, I realized blood isn't always thicker than water. "I'm sorry, Ms. Carter, but I can't let you in," the guard said, genuinely apologetic. "Your name is right here on the do not admit list, specifically requested by Sarah Carter Mills." My sister, my younger sister, whom I'd supported for the past 5 years, had deliberately banned me from watching her twins graduate. The same twins whose private school tuition I'd helped pay, whose extracurricular activities I funded, whose college application fees I covered just months ago. Annalena Carter, 38, VP of Operations at Meridian Tech. 5 years ago, when my sister Sarah showed up at my door crying about her divorce from Tom Mills, I didn't hesitate to help. She was struggling to maintain the twins' lifestyle as a single mom, and I had the means to assist. What started as a one-time assistance of $700 turned into a monthly commitment. The kids shouldn't suffer because of the divorce, Sarah had said that night, mascara running down her cheeks. But I can't afford Pine Grove Academy on my salary alone. They've been there since kindergarten, Elena. All their friends are there. Jake and Emma were 13 at the time, bright kids who deserved every opportunity. I'd always been close to them. The cool aunt who took them to science museums and helped with their projects. The aunt who never missed a soccer game or dance recital. "Of course I'll help," I'd said, writing the first check. Family takes care of family. If only I'd known then how those words would come back to haunt me. The monthly support wasn't just about tuition. There were uniforms, sports equipment, school trips, music lessons, the endless expenses that come with raising teenagers in an elite private school. Sarah's job as a real estate agent barely covered their basic living expenses, especially after the housing market downturn. I didn't mind. I was single, successful, and loved my niece and nephew like they were my own. Every time Jake won a science fair or Emma landed a solo in a school choir, I felt proud knowing I'd helped make it possible. But things started changing about a year ago. Sarah began dating Richard Henderson, a local business owner. Suddenly, she was posting photos of expensive restaurants and weekend getaways on social media. The kids mentioned their mom's new designer clothes and Richard's fancy car. Still, the monthly requests for $700 kept coming. "It's for the kids' education," Sarah would say. "You wouldn't want them to have to leave Pine Grove in their senior year, would you?" I noticed other changes too. My usual Sunday dinners with them became less frequent. Sarah always had an excuse. Richard had planned something, but kids were too busy studying. They had other commitments. When I did see them, Sarah would rush through the visits, checking her phone constantly. Then came the college applications. Jake and Emma both got into prestigious universities. Jake to Cornell for engineering, Emma to Northwestern for journalism. I was thrilled and immediately offered to help with the deposits. "Oh, Richard's taking care of all that," Sarah said dismissively. "He's been so generous with the kids." That stung, but I kept quiet. The next day, I saw Sarah's Facebook post. "So proud of my babies. Thank you to Richard for making their dreams come true. Best stepdad-to-be ever." Not a word about my years of support. Last month, Sarah announced her engagement to Richard. The twins were ecstatic, posting about their future stepfather and their upcoming graduation. I waited for my invitation to the ceremony, assuming it had been lost in the mail. Yesterday, I finally called Sarah. "Didn't I tell you?" she said, her voice oddly cold. "We had to limit the guest list, fire code regulations, and all that. Richard's whole family is coming, and you know how these things are." "Sarah, I've been helping support the kids for 5 years," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I've never missed a single important event in their lives." "Well, things are different now," she snapped. "Richard says it's time we set some boundaries. Besides, you've lorded that money over us for years, always making sure we knew how dependent we were on you. It's toxic, Elena." I was speechless. Toxic? "Sarah, you asked me for help. I never once brought it up or made demands." "That's not how I remember it," she said. "Anyway, the decision's made. Please respect our wishes." I hung up, my hands shaking. 5 years of monthly payments, countless hours of support, love, and dedication, all erased because her new fiancé wanted boundaries. Which brought me to today, standing outside Jefferson High School, watching other families stream past me into the graduation ceremony. Parents, grandparents, siblings, all dressed up, carrying flowers and balloons, and here I was, their aunt, blocked at the entrance like some kind of threat. I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone, along with a folder I brought just in case. Inside were copies of every check I'd written, every transfer I'd made, meticulously documented over 5 years. The total made me wince, $42,000, not counting the extra expenses for sports equipment, school trips, and emergency costs. My finger hovered over my lawyer's number. I'd never wanted it to come to this, but Sarah had left me no choice. If she wanted to rewrite history, to pretend my support never happened, then maybe it was time to make things official. The security guard shifted uncomfortably. "Ma'am, I really need you to step aside. The ceremony's about to start." I nodded, stepping away from the desk. Through the glass doors, I could see families finding their seats in the auditorium. Somewhere in there, Jake and Emma were preparing for one of the biggest moments of their lives, probably wondering why their aunt, the one who'd helped make this day possible, wasn't there to celebrate with them. My phone felt heavy in my hand as I looked down at my lawyer's number. One call could change everything. Not because I wanted my money back, I'd never regret helping the twins, but because Sarah needed to understand that actions have consequences, that you can't just erase people from your life when they're no longer useful. I took a deep breath and pressed call. "Elena, tell me you're not outside the school right now," David, my lawyer, said as soon as he picked up. His voice carried the weary tone of someone who dealt with too many family disputes. "I am," I replied, walking toward my car. "And I have the documentation you asked for." "Don't do anything yet," he said firmly. "Let's meet first. My office, 1 hour." I agreed and hung up, casting one last look at the school building. Through the windows, I could see the ceremony beginning, the graduates filing and wearing their blue and gold robes. My heart ached, knowing Jake and Emma were in that line, probably scanning the crowd for faces that didn't include mine. David's office was in a renovated Victorian house downtown, the kind of place that spoke of old money and discretion. His assistant showed me straight in, no waiting required. "Show me," he said as soon as I sat down. I handed him the folder. He spent 10 minutes going through the documents, occasionally making notes. Finally, he looked up. "This is more thorough than I expected," he said. "Bank statements, canceled checks, text messages requesting money. You even kept the thank you cards from the kids." "I never thought I'd need them," I admitted, but something told me to keep records. David leaned back in his chair. "What exactly do you want here, Elena?" "Your sister's actions are reprehensible, but legally, this money was given freely. We could argue it was a loan, but without written agreements." "I don't want the money back," I interrupted. "I want my sister to acknowledge what she's doing. I want the kids to know the truth." He nodded slowly. "That's trickier than a simple lawsuit, but maybe." His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, eyebrows rising. "Well, speaking of your sister, she's in the lobby, demanding to see me." My stomach dropped. "What? Why?" "Let's find out." He pressed his intercom. "Send Mrs. Mills up." Sarah burst into the office 30 seconds later, still wearing her graduation ceremony outfit, an expensive-looking blue dress I'd never seen before. Her face was flushed with anger. "How dare you?" she spat at me. "Richard got an alert that someone was investigating our finances. On graduation day. What are you playing at?" I stayed seated, maintaining my composure. "How did you even know I was here?" "Your name was on the inquiry," she snapped. Then she noticed the folder on David's desk, her eyes widening as she recognized some of the documents. "What is all this?" "Evidence," David said calmly. "Your sister has been quite diligent in documenting her financial support of your family." Sarah's face went through a series of emotions, shock, fear, then settling on defiance. "Those were gifts. She can't demand them back just because she's jealous of Richard." "Jealous?" I finally stood up. "Sarah, I spent 5 years helping you give your kids the best education possible. I never asked for anything in return. And now you've banned me from their graduation because your new fiancé wants boundaries." "You don't understand," Sarah said, her voice dropping. "Richard, he has very specific ideas about family. He doesn't like the idea that we needed outside help before him. He wants to be the one taking care of us now. So you're erasing me to protect his ego. I'm protecting my future. Richard's business is doing well. He's talking about adopting the kids after we're married, giving them his last name. Do you know what that would mean for their future? I felt like I'd been slapped. They already have a last name. They have a father. Tom hasn't paid child support in 3 years. You know that. Richard is offering them stability, connections, a real future. And the price is cutting me out of their lives. Sarah at least had the grace to look uncomfortable. It's not forever. Just until things settle. Richard needs to feel like he's in charge. Mrs. Mills. David interrupted smoothly. Are you aware that your sister has documentation of specific requests for money, totaling over $40,000? Sarah's face paled. Those were gifts between sisters. Were they? Because these text messages suggest otherwise. Please, Elena, I need the money for their tuition by Friday. Can you send this month's payment early? The school's threatening to suspend them. That sounds more like an arrangement than gifts. What do you want? Sarah whispered, sinking into a chair. Money? Richard can write you a check right now. I want to be in my niece and nephew's lives, I said firmly. I want them to know the truth about who supported them these past 5 years. And I want you to stop pretending none of it happened. Richard will never accept that. Then Richard isn't the right person for your family. Sarah's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, tension visible in her shoulders. He's wondering where I am. The ceremony's almost over. Go, I said. Go back to your perfect new life. But know this, I'm done being erased. Either you tell the twins the truth, or I will. You wouldn't. Try me. I turned to David. Hold on to those documents. We might need them. Sarah stood, smoothing her expensive dress. You'll regret this, Elena. You're going to ruin everything. No, Sarah. You did that when you chose a man's ego over your own sister. After she left, David looked at me thoughtfully. You know this isn't over. I know. I gathered my purse, suddenly exhausted. But at least now she knows I'm not just going to disappear quietly. As I drove home, my phone started buzzing with notifications. First, a group text from my parents. Sarah told us what you're doing. How could you be so selfish on the twins' graduation day? Then from Tom, the twins' father. Elena just heard what's happening. We need to talk. Finally, an email from Richard Henderson himself. I understand you're causing problems for Sarah. I strongly suggest you reconsider your actions. My lawyers are very good at handling family disputes. I ignored them all, let them spin their narratives. I had truth and documentation on my side. At home, I poured myself a glass of wine and went out to my balcony. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Somewhere across town, Jake and Emma were probably celebrating with their friends, taking photos in their caps and gowns, completely unaware of the storm brewing around them. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from Emma. Aunt Elena, why weren't you at graduation? Mom said you had a work emergency, but I saw your car in the parking lot. What's going on? And there it was, the moment of truth. How I responded would set the course for everything that followed. I took a deep breath and began typing. Emma, we need to talk. There's something you and Jake should know. I stared at Emma's text for a long time, weighing my words carefully. Finally, I replied, Can you and Jake meet me at Riverside Cafe tomorrow morning at 9? Just the 3 of us. Emma's response came quickly. Mom won't like that. I know, but you're both 18 now. You can make your own decisions. There was a long pause before she answered. Okay, we'll be there. I barely slept that night, rehearsing what I would say, how I would explain everything without making them hate their mother. By morning, I had dark circles under my eyes that even makeup couldn't fully hide. I arrived at the cafe early, choosing a quiet corner booth away from other customers. When Jake and Emma walked in, both still wearing their graduation celebration outfits from the night before, my heart clenched. They looked so grown up, so different from the scared 13-year-olds who'd hugged me the day their parents announced their divorce. Aunt Elena, Emma said, sliding into the booth. Jake followed, his expression serious. They both had Sarah's dark hair and their father's green eyes. I ordered your favorites, I said, gesturing to the hot chocolates and cinnamon rolls already on the table. Double chocolate for Emma, extra frosting for Jake. You always remember, Jake said quietly. Then, without preamble, Mom's been crying all night. Richard's furious. What's going on? I took a deep breath. I need to tell you something about the last 5 years. about your education at Pine Grove, and why I wasn't at your graduation yesterday. Over the next hour, I explained everything. The monthly payments, the extra support for their activities, the gradual distancing after Richard entered the picture. I showed them some of the documentation on my phone, not to prove their mother wrong, but to show them the truth. So all those times Mom said the school payment plan worked out, Emma trailed off. It was you, Jake finished, every month. I wanted to help, I said. You both deserve to stay at Pine Grove with your friends, your activities, your opportunities. I never regretted a single payment. But why didn't Mom tell us? Emma's voice cracked. I think she was embarrassed about needing help. And then, when Richard came along, he wanted to be the hero, Jake said bitterly. Mom's been different since he showed up. Everything has to be his way. He told everyone at the graduation party how he's paying for our college, Emma added. Made this big speech about family and responsibility. I kept my voice neutral. Your mom and Richard are building a life together. They want to look forward, not back. By erasing you? Jake's hands clenched into fists. By lying about everything you did for us? We wouldn't even be going to Cornell and Northwestern if it wasn't for Pine Grove, Emma said. If it wasn't for you. Listen to me, both of you, I leaned forward. I'm not telling you this to make you angry at your mom. She did the best she could as a single parent. She swallowed her pride and asked for help when you needed it. That takes courage. But she banned you from our graduation, Emma protested. Made up some lie about work emergencies. That's not courage. That's cowardice, Jake finished. Just then, the cafe door chimed. We all looked up to see Sarah standing there, Richard beside her. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her normally perfect hair disheveled. I checked their phone locations, Richard said loudly, striding toward our table. You had no right to meet with them without our permission. They're adults now, I said calmly, though my heart was racing. They can meet whoever they want. Mom, Emma stood up. How could you lie to us? About everything. Sarah's face crumpled. I was trying to protect you. From what? Jake demanded. From knowing our aunt loved us enough to support us for 5 years? You don't understand, Richard cut in. Your mother and I are trying to give you a fresh start, a proper family structure. We had a proper family structure, Emma shot back. We had Mom, Dad, and Aunt Elena, who helped us when we needed it. You're the one trying to change everything. I'm offering to adopt you both, Richard's voice rose. To give you my name, my connections. All your mother's sister did was throw money at problems. I stood up slowly. No, Richard. What I did was help my sister give her children the best possible chance at success. I didn't do it for recognition or control. I did it because that's what family does. Well, I'm their family now, he said, stepping closer, trying to intimidate me with his height. And I say this ends here. No, you don't get to say that. Jake moved between us. You don't get to erase 5 years of love and support because it doesn't fit your narrative. Sarah touched Richard's arm. Please, let's not do this here. But Richard shook her off. I've made my position clear. Either you kids accept my role as your new father, or what? Emma challenged. You'll cut us off. Take away our college money? Go ahead. We'll figure it out ourselves. Like Mom did, with Aunt Elena's help. The cafe had gone silent, other customers watching the drama unfold. Richard's face had turned an alarming shade of red. Sarah, he barked. We're leaving. Kids, come with us. Now. But Jake and Emma didn't move. They stood their ground, one on either side of me. No, Jake said simply. We're staying with Aunt Elena. Sarah started crying again. Please, don't do this. Don't break up our family. You did that, Emma said softly, when you chose his ego over the truth. Richard grabbed Sarah's arm. Fine, stay with her. But don't expect anything from us. As they stormed out, Sarah looked back once, her expression a mix of grief and resignation. Then they were gone, leaving the cafe in uncomfortable silence. Emma burst into tears. I pulled her close, gesturing for Jake to join us. We stood there, holding each other, while other customers politely looked away. What do we do now? Jake asked finally. Now, I said, we figure out our next steps. Together. Like we always have. The weeks following the cafe confrontation passed in a blur. Jake and Emma moved into my guest rooms temporarily. needing space from their mother and Richard. I helped them set up student loans and scholarships to replace Richard's promised funding for college. We spent evenings around my dining table, planning budgets and filling out applications. Sarah called daily at first, alternating between tearful pleas and angry accusations. Richard's lawyers sent threatening letters about parental alienation, which my lawyer quickly dismissed. The twins were legal adults making their own choices. Mom's getting married next month, Emma told me one evening as we sat on my balcony. She sent us invitations. Richard's name is bigger than hers on the card. Are you going to go? I asked carefully. Jake, sprawled on a deck chair nearby, snorted. Why should we? She didn't want you at our graduation. Why should we celebrate her choosing him over family? Because she's still your mother, I said gently, and holding on to anger only hurts you in the end. 2 days later, Sarah showed up at my door alone. She looked tired, smaller somehow without Richard's looming presence. Can we talk? She asked. Just sisters. I let her in. We sat in my living room, the space between us heavy with unspoken words. Richard's changed the wedding plans 3 times, she said finally. Nothing's ever good enough. The venue, the flowers, the guest list. He wants everything his way. Sounds familiar, I said quietly. She flinched. I know, I see it now. The way he tried to erase you, to control everything. I was so desperate for stability that I let him reshape our whole lives. The twins miss you, I told her. The real you, not Richard's version. Tears slid down her cheeks. I miss them too. And you? I'm so sorry, Elena, for everything. Are you going to marry him? She twisted her engagement ring. I don't know anymore. Last night he said either the twins accept his adoption offer or they're not welcome at the wedding. He won't even discuss a compromise. Then you have a choice to make, I said, just like I did at the graduation. A week later, Sarah canceled the wedding. Richard retaliated by trying to evict her from their shared house. But my lawyer helped her fight back. Turns out she had documentation of her own, proof that she'd been contributing to the mortgage even though he kept her name off the deed. The twins started speaking to their mother again, cautiously at first. We had Sunday dinners together, rebuilding trust one meal at a time. Sarah found a better-paying job at a larger real estate firm, one where she didn't have to depend on anyone else's connections. By the time August rolled around and it was time for Jake and Emma to leave for college, things had settled into a new normal. We all went to drop them off, me, Sarah, and their dad, Tom, who'd started making an effort to be more present in their lives. Thank you, Sarah said as we watched the twins walk toward their dorms. Not just for the money all those years, but for showing them what real family loyalty looks like. That's what sisters are for, I replied, and meant it. Later that night, I received a group text from the twins. Missing our favorite aunt already. Don't worry, we'll never let anyone erase you from our lives again. Love you. I smiled, saving the message. Sometimes the family you fight for becomes stronger than the one you're born into. And sometimes standing your ground, even when it hurts, leads you back to where you belong. Sarah and I still have our moments of tension, our awkward pauses when certain topics come up. But we're healing, growing, learning to be sisters again without conditions or power plays. The twins are thriving at college, sending us constant updates about their new adventures. As for Richard, I heard he married someone else 6 months later, a younger woman with no family complications to interfere with his need for control. Sarah says she dodged a bullet. Looking back, I don't regret a single dollar I spent helping my sister and her kids. What I regret is not speaking up sooner when I saw the red flags with Richard. But that's the thing about family. Sometimes you have to break apart to come back together stronger. The twins come home for breaks now, splitting their time between Sarah's new apartment and my place. We don't talk much about the graduation day drama anymore. Instead, we focus on building new memories, creating traditions that can't be erased or controlled by anyone outside our circle. After all, real family isn't about who provides the money or who makes the rules. It's about who stays, who fights, who tells the truth even when it's hard. And by that definition, we're more of a family now than we ever were before.